Hello there, I'm Big Alias, and I'm not an incel. It's always a great start to a video when you have to clarify that you're not an incel, but I'm not. It's not the end of the world when woman is cast in film or show. I'm cool with that, dude. No, not a problem with me. As a straight man, actually, I think I'd rather look at a woman on the screen. Doesn't bother me. And I want you to know that going into this video because I watched The Marvels. It's on Disney+. I feel as though Marvel movies, I've reached a point that a lot of people have reached of kind of a fatigue of like, I'll just watch it when it goes onto Disney+, I'll just do that. And I think that's really denting their numbers. But, it's the system that it decided to go for, and it's clearly working for them, so that's fine. And I do want to say that I actually thought the first one was okay. Like, I don't think it was great, but I thought it was fine popcorn fluff. There was some fun moments. I thought the message, at the end was kind of sweet of like getting knocked down and getting back up again, and the musical motif that went along with it was a lot of fun too. It was nothing groundbreaking, and it was a very played out, contrived message to have, but at the same time, it worked in the context of the film, and it was fine. I thought the film was absolutely fine. No problems with that. Oddly enough, with The Marvels, which is the spiritual sequel to Captain Marvel, I feel as though every piece that goes into a film in The Marvels is worse than it was in Captain Marvel 1, which is bizarre. It's a very odd thing to find myself saying in the context of anything, like that the sequel would be worse in every conceivable way than the original, but that is the case. And I will say this, I've seen Captain Marvel about 3 times, so it's not just that I remember it being better than it was. I think the last time I saw Captain Marvel was only a couple of years ago, and I really do think that it was a lot more impressive than this. Man, this was weak. This was not good. This was not a good movie. And I mean everything. The shot composition, the colors, the use of colors, the overall gradient, the quality of the shots, believe it or not, the sets, the character writing, the narrative, the performances. I think, again, I'm not an incel, but I don't think Brie Larson was particularly good in Captain Marvel 1. She was way worse in Marvels. And I don't think any character performed particularly well, aside for the old friend's daughter. I can't remember her name. And that's one of the things about the shows. The film is I really can't remember the names of the characters. And, I mean, Kamala Khan was fine for a teen actress, but I just can't get on board with her character. And as much as I want to, and I really do want to get on board with Miss Marvel, because I'm sure she could be a very fun character, I am so tired of the quirky teen fangirl trope. Man, I am so tired of it. I cannot handle it anymore. And every time she was on the screen, and it's not the actress's fault, she was very poorly directed, and it's very bad writing, very, very bad character writing. Awkward jokes that just don't land, that aren't funny, that don't work with the pacing of the film. But every time she was on the screen, I just didn't want to watch. I just couldn't do it. But again, I don't feel that differently about Captain Marvel either. Even Nick Fury, his performances seemed off. He didn't seem to have very much energy. Samuel Jackson didn't have much energy during the film. And the CGI was worse in a lot of cases. That cat that eats people, it's just logistically CGI that doesn't work. Like having something that's big and then having it reduced into a small space can be very difficult to pull off, and it doesn't seem like they've put very much effort into it. The bad guy, no depth, no layers interjected into the character, nothing interesting going on with the character, not very much build up leading up to the final fight. The final fight itself was quite lackluster. The fight choreography, not very good. It was not very good fight choreography, and a lot of it was very messy. But that's okay because it was shot poorly as well. There were too many shots that sort of lingered on fights rather than cutting, which is odd because that's something that Marvel films have always nailed, is the quick cuts between combat to make it look pacey and to honestly distract from what is probably not very spot on choreography. There's no attempt to do that here. It's just, even the lead bad guy had a hammer. Had a hammer that was supposed to have weight to it, and it felt like a prop the entire time. Now, hammers with exceeding amounts of weight to them, that's something they've been doing in the Marvel Universe for almost a decade and a half now with Thor, and it always felt like it had weight there. They used clever sound effects and, painted the material in some way, but here it just didn't work. like, and of course you get your standard schlock like the purple beams in the sky and the dimensional travel and stuff like that. But that's the weird thing about it, is that, this film did not perform particularly well compared to, how Marvel were in their heyday. But none of the films have been. None of them have been absolutely slaying in the box office at the moment, which, it's superhero fatigue. I'm sorry, it's the same with DC films as well. This is what's going on at the moment. None of them been performing particularly well. I just don't understand why they would make the decision to make a very generic standard purple beam fight, heavy Marvel film, rather than making something different that would ignite people and make people interested and keep people focused on what they're making. They're just making the same schlock, but somehow worse. I genuinely preferred Thor: Love and Thunder, and I thought Thor: Love and Thunder sucked. I thought that was a bad movie, but that was better than this. At least it was a fair amount of depth to it. At least there was something, some meat on the bone with that film. This is just terrible, just not good. I think this may be my least favorite in the MCU, and I really wanted to like it. Like I said, I wanted to like this movie. I wanted the incels to be wrong, and they are most of the time. But this is just a bad movie. It's just not a good one. It has nothing to do individually with Brie Larson or any of those people involved. It's just not good. I'm sorry to report that, but I guess I just really wanted to rant about how bad this movie was and how confusing it is that it exists in the state that it does. I mean, say what you want about the Multiverse of Madness, which I really enjoyed, actually. I thought it was great. At least it was over the top and 90s throwback or early 2000s throwback with horror vibes, and it completely went over the edge and went completely nuts, with all the bat shit and the zombies and stuff like that. I thought that was awesome. At least they did something slightly different there and played around with the formula slightly, but this is just schlock, man. This is forgettable as hell. Anyway, I'll see everyone later.
The PlayStation is only $149, and you can also get leading titles.